Welcome everybody to FUMBLE Central. The Stamaniac here, and today we are going to tell you about a couple athletes that defied the norms and became some of the most feared big men in the game. The NFL is no stranger to extraordinary feats of athleticism. Some of the greatest physical specimens have played on the NFL Shield. With the competition in today's league being bigger and faster than it ever has before, the teams have an expectation for players to be lean, mean machines, and not only just for their Instagrams. But these guys proved that productivity and power is not based on body fat percentage. These big bad burger-eating bad boys are the heaviest football players opponents feared playing. Larry Allen. Larry Christopher Allen Sr. is an American football player that played in the NFL for 14 seasons, where he, for the majority of his time, he terrorized teams for the Dallas Cowboys. This man became a legend playing for the Cowboys. His freakish athleticism, despite being one of the heaviest players in the NFL, became this man's strong suit. This guy was one of the biggest, baddest, heaviest players in the league at the time, and he earned that reputation for his extreme power to size ratio. He boasted some of the most ridiculous strength in the league. Claiming to be able to bench 700 pounds, Allen used to often say,
"The strongest man."
This man was so confident in his game, he used to make train whistly noises when they were going to run the ball behind him. How hilarious is that? Could you imagine the confidence in your power that you have absolutely no problem announcing your plans to other players? Woo woo! Get behind the big boy! Talk about shooting your shot. 6-time All-Pro. 11 Pro Bowls, first-round ballot Hall of Famer. At the time, the 6'3", 325-pound Larry Allen was one of the heaviest linemen in the league. There is one particular display from Larry that is still my favorite, and we are going to have a look at this one right now. There is a moment in football time where this dude pulls off one of the most athletic plays I have ever seen out of a big man. Let's have a look at this. It is 1994. There is a game between the Dallas Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints, and the ball is about to be intercepted. Whoop, there it is. Wow! He is going all the way, chugging along. Here comes Larry Allen. Look at this guy move! Bam! That 325-pound lineman flew to make that play. And the player he's going after is hauling. What I find even more fascinating is that if you go back and have a look at this play, you can see that in this replay, he has not even begun pursuit until the other player has begun returning the football at speed down the sideline. I couldn't imagine what it was like to think that you totally have a tutter and you're home free, and all of a sudden this monster of a man enters your peripheral and you have a 300-pound problem about to be on your hands. A couple of years ago, we all got to witness a very similar play from another freak athlete, where DK Metcalf once chased down Budda Baker in the Seahawks versus the Cardinals in 2020. That resulted in one of the most viewed sport replays of that year. But however, for those of us that remember, there's just something so much more impressive about a guy who looks like this, who had a couple of hamburgers on the way to the game, and weighs over 300 pounds, chases down a guy on a play, versus a guy who looks like this when he does it. This next man has an equally large story as he was, and he played a very unexpected position on this list for a big man: quarterback. NFL players feared Jared Lorenzen at a staggering 6'4" and 300 pounds when he entered the NFL. Lorenzen was someone that even NFL players were afraid to get their hands on. I mean, this dude was tall enough and big enough to plow rugby players over. and probably could have been a heavyweight champ or a wrestler at that size. There truly was no one like Jared Lorenzen. Even as a baby, Lorenzen was a giant. This kiddo, born, weighed in at 13.3 pounds. That is wild. Not freakish, but generally on the big side, I would say. But Lorenzen didn't let his naturally large frame get in his way. During his high school days, Lorenzen was a Letterman athlete. And not just one sport either. This man played in 3 major sports in high school: football, basketball, baseball. This man could honestly do it all. Imagine how many spaghetti dinners this guy got to have during his tenure in high school, huh? With his excellent athleticism and multiple sports, it would not take long for the college scouts to come hunting for this big guy. He took the next steps and committed to the University of Kentucky. Now, all of his focus was getting centered on football, and Lorenzen took his game to the next level at Kentucky. He was locked in as their starter from day one, despite already ballooning up to 260 pounds, about 40 or 50 pounds heavier than the average quarterback at the time. Jared Lorenzen comes out there, and my man thrives despite all of the challenges that he receives along the way. Not only does Lorenzen leap Kentucky forward to winning seasons, he broke school records too. By the time his college career finished, Lorenzen had held the school record in both passing yards and passing touchdowns. This dude could get work done. Big boy, get that work done! After a successful college career, Lorenzen was ready to take his skills to the NFL. Unfortunately, that opportunity was kind of up in the air because of his size. For the first time in his life, Lorenzen's weight was viewed as a hindrance to teams that were doubting whether or not Lorenzen could even succeed in the NFL. Also, it didn't help that when Jared Lorenzen weighed in at the NFL Combine, his weight had increased, and when the NFL Draft rolled around, Lorenzen faced a rude awakening. His previous success didn't matter. Over 250 picks went by, and Jared Lorenzen was not one of them. Just when all hope seemed lost, Lorenzen's phone finally rang, and it was the New York Giants calling. So, after making the best of his opportunity, Jared Lorenzen signed with the Giants as an undrafted free agent. But even with this glimmer of hope, Lorenzen faced an uphill battle, since it didn't help that the 2 quarterbacks that were ahead of him on this roster were a couple of guys known as Eli Manning and Tim Hasselbeck. So he didn't have a chance. But he would fortunately get that chance after 2 years spending it as the 3rd-string quarterback behind Manning and Hasselbeck. He gets his opportunity in 2006. And with a pretty solid showing in the 2006 preseason, Lorenzen becomes Eli Manning's backup in the NFL. He has made it. Lorenzen makes his first regular season appearance on December 30th in 2006. Tom Coughlin didn't have much of a choice late in the Giants game against the Cowboys, and the fans' worst fears come true. Eli Manning goes down. Without many other options, Jared Lorenzen is thrust into the spotlight in the 4th quarter. Sadly, this moment that is years in the making for this man is underwhelming. The Giants failed to earn a first down, and the following week Lorenzen completed 3 out of his 5 passes for 21 yards. Despite being a big physical specimen and being able to physically impose his will, the NFL gave him the business. Eli would return the next week and take back the reins at the quarterback, ultimately never looking back and lead the Giants to a Super Bowl victory. He gets a Super Bowl. And following his biggest season ever, Jared is then cut by the Giants. This becomes Lorenzen's final year with the Giants, and ultimately in the NFL. This whole time, he was dealing with an extremely difficult set of weight regulations that Tom Coughlin had to put on him to try and keep him under 300 pounds. But for someone like a build like Jared's, that proved to be a near impossible task. Lorenzen had to come up with a plan where he would set up extremes that included him literally starving himself while spitting into a bottle to reduce water weight throughout the day. But Jared Lorenzen's burning passion for football never stops there. So this time, he enters football from a management side. Jared Lorenzen becomes the general manager of the Northern Kentucky River Monsters of the Ultimate Indoor Football League. He coincidentally found it incredibly difficult to find a good quarterback to run his team. And after struggling to find a quarterback, Lorenzen resigns as the manager and, reliving his glory days, becomes the team's starting quarterback. He puts on the jersey again, and this man still could ball. Much to many surprise, at his new weight of over 310 pounds, Jared Lorenzen won league MVP and threw for 81 touchdowns. But it was not the fairy tale ending we were expecting. After exerting his will and pushing the Indoor Football League around with his immense prowess and throwing ability, despite pushing around the Indoor Football League using his prowess and powerful arm to achieve really outstanding numbers, after playing quarterback for a few more teams, Lorenzen suffered a career-ending fibula injury in 2013. Without football in his life, his weight gets out of control as he eventually weighs over 500 pounds before his passing away in 2019 at the young age of 38. The big man had a good run and indeed showed us all that it's not the size that counts, it's how you use it. Thank you all for watching. Please click the link and subscribe if you haven't, and so you can get the latest material here at Fumble Central. I'm the Stimaniac, John Stimick, signing off.